Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. God has hidden unlimited treasures in His Word. Every time we open it, we can discover a new treasure, or admire an old one. What will we find today? Let's dig in. Here's Carla Early with Treasure Hunt in the Word.
If your child or child in the faith was going to remember only one thing that you told him, what would you want that one thing to be? I could think of a whole list of things. There's so many things I want to teach my children. The one thing David impressed on his son Solomon was that he needed God's wisdom in everything he did. Listen to what Solomon wrote later in Proverbs 4:3-7. When I was the son of my father, tender, the only one in the side of my mother, he taught me and said to me, "Let your whole heart hold fast to my words. Keep my commandments and live. Get wisdom, get understanding. Don't forget and don't turn away from the words of my mouth. Don't forsake her, and she will keep you. Love her, and she will guard you. The beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom, and whatever you get understanding." Apparently, Solomon listened. When the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream after he became king and told him that he could have anything he wanted, Solomon requested wisdom and discernment. As we can see from Solomon's reply, he already had enough wisdom to know that only wisdom that came from God would make him a successful king. Listen to 1 Kings 3:6-9. And Solomon said, "You have shown great and steadfast love to your servant David, my father, because he walked before you in faithfulness, in righteousness, and an upright heart towards you. And you have kept for him this great and steadfast love, and have given him a son to sit on his throne this day. And now, O Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of David my father, although I am but a little child, and do not know how to go out or come in. And your servant in the midst of your people, whom you have chosen, a great people, too many to be numbered or counted for multitude. Give your servant, therefore, an understanding mind to govern your people, that I may discern between good and evil. For who is able to govern this your great people?" First he recounted what God had already done for his father. Then he came to God in humility, not as a king over the Israelites, but as a little child. He acknowledged that the people he'd be ruling over were the Lord's people, not his, and God was really in control. So Solomon asked for wisdom to govern God's children. He knew he needed wisdom. He had a big job and didn't want to fail. He knew that to lead the people in the ways of the Lord, he needed God's wisdom, God's insight, which he could get nowhere else. And he knew history would judge him by how he led. He couldn't do it on his own. Isn't this true of us too? No matter what we embark upon, we need wisdom, God's wisdom, not the world's wisdom. We don't have to wait until God comes to us in a dream to ask about it either. James 1:5 says, "If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him." That's it. Just ask. Come to him with humility and faith, and ask. When Solomon asked for wisdom, it says it pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this. And God gave him over and above what he'd asked. He didn't ask for riches or fame or long life, but God gave him those too. And people came from everywhere to witness his wisdom in action. 1 Kings 4:29-34 says that God gave Solomon wisdom and understanding beyond measure and breadth of mind like the sand on the seashore, so that Solomon's wisdom surpassed the wisdom of all the people in the East and all the wisdom of Egypt. For he was wiser than all other men, and his fame was in all the surrounding nations. He spoke 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005. He spoke of trees, from the cedar that's in Lebanon to the hyssop that grows out of the wall. He spoke also of beasts and birds and reptiles and fish. And people of all nations came to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and from all the kings of the earth who had heard his wisdom. God's wisdom can shine out of us as well. People might not come from all nations to hear our wisdom, But someone in the next cubicle at work might come over to ask for advice or prayer because they heard you're a Christian. Or other mothers might ask advice about raising their children after they see the wisdom God has given you acted out in your children. You never know how God can use the wisdom that He gives you for His glory. And that's what it's all about anyway, right?
You can contact us at treasurehuntintheword@gmail.com. Also, if you'd like to share a treasure God has given you by doing an episode, please contact us. You can listen to other episodes on our website, which you'll find in the description below. Thanks for listening, and remember, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.